Okay, to move along because there's a lot to learn yet. Okay, the ma'ariv of, or generally speaking, from Aseret Simei Tshuva, starting from the night of Rosh Hashanah, we need to say in the Shemona Esrei there's a few changes. The primary one is, instead of Hakel HaKodesh, we say HaMelech HaKodesh. Instead of, and a weekday Shemona Esrei, instead of Melech Oyev Tzedakah Mishpat, we say HaMelech HaMishpat. Then we add also Zachreinu L'chaim, Michamecha, Uchsev L'chaim Tevim, Sefer Chaim. It's a whole thing that we add. The main one that you need to remember is Hakel HaKodesh. Because if you said Hakel HaKodesh, Melech HaKodesh instantaneously, it's okay. But if you didn't say it instantaneously, you said Hakel HaKodesh and waited a few seconds, or you began the next bracha, then you have to go back to the beginning of the Shemona Esrei. Okay, because we assume, you didn't say it right. If somebody doesn't remember if they said the right one or not, we assume that you didn't. So, especially Rosh Hashanah is definitely a different davening. The best thing is to look in the siddur and just make sure you know what you're saying. Okay, then after the first night of Rosh Hashanah, after Ma'ariv, it's a custom, everybody wishes each other L'Shana Tova, Tikosiv, V'Sechosem, or if it's a woman, Tekasevi, V'Sechosemi. According to our minhag, we only say it singular. We don't say it to a lot of people together. Say it individually to single people, Tekasev, V'Sechosem. Okay, now, as far as the meal, the first night of Rosh Hashanah. So don't forget, we spoke about Erev Tavshilin. We spoke about, the importance of Erev Tavshilin. Now, the Kiddush is a Kiddush of Rosh Hashanah. You have in the Siddur and the Machzor, the Kiddush for Rosh Hashanah. Now, you make Kiddush, and then you go wash for Hametzi. Now, the custom is that you dip the challah into honey. Like this, we dip the challah into salt. And Rosh Hashanah, we dip it into honey. But now, according to our minhag, we don't only dip it into honey. The first piece we dip into honey, and then we take another piece and dip it into salt 3 times also. Now, where is this custom? Why do we do honey? Because honey is sweet. We want to do things that we should have a sweet year. Now, normally it says in halacha, you're not allowed to eat sour foods. It's custom. You don't eat sour foods. Like in Shulchan it says, you don't cook the fish in vinegar. Because then it becomes sour taste. You want to have a sweet year. People don't eat nuts on Pesach. And Rosh Hashanah. Some people do it only in Rosh Hashanah. Some people have the minhag through Simchas Torah. They don't eat nuts. Why don't they eat nuts? There's 2 reasons. Number 1, it gets stuck in your throat. And therefore it's hard to daven. That's what it says in Shulchan. Another reason is because egois, which means nut, is the same numerical value as the word chet, which is 17. But even though the word tov also equals 17, but anyway, it's brought down that you don't eat. The pasuk say, even though tov is also 17, but they quote a pasuk that says you're not supposed to eat nuts on Pesach. That doesn't mean, though, if you have ground up nuts and a fish or whatever it is in a cake, that's not a problem. Or if there's a little bit of sour, like you put a little bit of lemon into food, it doesn't mean you're not supposed to eat food that tastes sour. If you put a little bit of sour food in it that doesn't taste sour, then that's fine. You can eat that in Rosh Hashanah. But let me go back. What? Spicy food. A lot of poskim write it's only sour food, not spicy food. Some people have a mint. It's all custom. Some people won't eat spicy food because again we don't want a spicy year. We want a sweet year. But again, the main thing is brought down in halacha. It says chamutzim, which is sour. And other poskim bring down it's only sour, but not chorif. But again, those are different customs. What? Agave literally is walnuts. According to the reason of it gets stuck in your throat, it applies to all nuts. Huh? Okay. Now, coming back to the challah with the honey with the salt. Now during the year, the custom, many people pour salt on the challah, or bread, whatever. The reason why you do that is because on the pasuk, the table is likened to the mizbeach, the shulchan daimel mizbeach. So it's like bringing a carbon. The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, when you eat food, it's like you're burning the food as a carbon to Hashem, if you learn and daven with the food that you ate. And the Torah says, I'll call carbon chatakriv melach. Every single carbon in the Beis Hamikdash had to have salt on it. So therefore, there's a custom that when you eat bread, by the way, some people don't do it on Shabbos. The real thing is anytime you eat bread, you dip it into salt 3 times. Now, why do you dip bread into... Some people pour the salt on the bread, or challah. According to Kabbalah, the minhag is to dip the challah into salt 3 times. Now, why do we dip the challah into salt 3 times? Because melach, mem lamed ches, equals 78. And Hashem's name is Yud Kei Vav Kei. 3 times 26. Right? Yud Kei Vav Kei equals 26. 3 times 26 is 78. So because the table is a korban Hashem, so we dip, this is the minhag, this is according to Kabbalah, by the way, that you dip the challah into the salt 3 times because it equals 3 times Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is equals 78. So somebody asked the Rebbe, so why by honey do we also dip it 3 times into the honey? Dvash is Dalet based shin is 306. It's not 78. And the Rebbe answered, we still do it, and that's our minhag. We also dip the challah into the honey 3 times because melach is the same letters as lechem. So lechem also equals 78. So even when you use dvash, our minhag is anytime you dip the apple in honey or this, you do it 3 times. That's our minhag. But again, people...
That's 3 different pieces, the same piece.
Same piece 3 times. There are opinions in halacha that say that it's brought down in poskim. There are certain people that took 1 piece of challah, half of it they dipped into honey, and the other half they dipped into salt. So the same original piece, they did both. No, the Torah real brings down. They bring down from people used to do that. Most people dip it into honey, but even if you don't,
defeating the purpose of dipping the honey.
Salt is not bitter. Salt is not bitter. So again, what was just saying? Whatever. So that's you dip it there. But most people, by the way, even if you don't dip the challah into salt, you're supposed to have salt on the table. Anytime you eat with bread, there's supposed to be salt on the table. Now, the first night of Rosh Hashanah we mentioned just now, that you're supposed to eat sweet foods, or food that means a lot. So many people have different customs. By the Sfardim, they have a whole Seder, sometimes of Rosh Hashanah, they eat various different fruits, and they say a bunch of Yehirotzins on each one. Now, the ultimate, by Chabad, we only dip the apple in honey, that's it, and we eat the head of a fish, or head of a lamb that you don't get today, or you can get, and a pomegranate. That's what we eat the first night. But we only say the Yerot, what? One second. This is the official minhag. We eat apple dipped in honey, because the Jewish people are likened to Chakal Tapuch and Kadishin. The Jewish nation in Zohar is like, they liken the Jewish people to an apple orchard. And pomegranates, because they have a lot of seeds. And head of a fish, or because we should be a head and not a tail. But in many different languages, like many people eat what's called simis, cooked carrots in honey, the whole thing. Why do they eat carrots in Rosh Hashanah? Because carrots in Yiddish are called, the Yiddish word for carrots is meren. Now meren means to multiply in Yiddish also. So therefore, because carrots in Yiddish means multiplying, so people eat and they make it sweet, not a raw carrot. They'll cook it in, honey and others. I don't give out recipes, but they do different things to make it sweet. But a lot of people eat a lot of different fruits and vegetables with the yerotzins. It's fine.
On the challah, you dip 3 times.
Yeah.
Honey. You eat that first, then the salt on second.
No, first you eat. You eat the first piece with the honey. Then afterwards you dip the piece into salt. So first you do the honey. And you eat it, and then you do the salt.
Is it okay to mix the honey and
then just because one piece.
That's gross. That's even worse than one side, honey on one side. Okay, now, but our custom is an interesting thing. Even though you wash for bread, you wash already for challah, but if you eat an apple dipped into honey, you still have to make a bread pure eitz on the apple. You wash for ameitzi. But like we learned, when we're learning the din of mebrachas, that bread only covers the food that you eat to fill yourself up. Fish, eggs, meat, things like that. Things that you eat not as a filler, the ameitzi doesn't cover. Okay? Lechem levav enish yisod, the pasuk says in Tehillim, that bread fills the heart of a person. So ameitzi covers all foods which are eaten. That's why in dessert, you have to make a bracha, because you're not eating it to fill you up. You're eating it as a dessert. So you would make a bracha. So even though you washed, so you still have to make a bracha on the apple, because you're not eating it to fill you up. You're eating it because there's an inyan of eating an apple dipped in honey. So you have to make a bread parade. And then you have the yiratzin. So the question is, what do? Do you make the bracha and say yiratzin and then eat? Or do you make ha'etz, eat and then say the yiratzin? Or should you say the yiratzin before you make the bracha? A very pure eitz. The Pearl, there's a whole letter from the Rebbe. Our custom is that we make a very pure eitz, say the Yiratzim Mefanach Hashem Chadash Aleinu Shana Tova Mesukah, that He should grant us a good sweet year, and then we eat it. So we eat it after and the Rebbe has a whole letter why the Yiratzim is not considered a separation between the bracha and the eating. And then we also eat pomegranate, which is another interesting din. We learned in Berchus Hanenin that if you have fruits from Eretz Yisrael, okay, Shivas Aminim, and you have regular fruits, and you're eating both, what should you make the bracha on first? The pomegranate. Pomegranates come from Eretz Yisrael. But it says, and that's also our minig, that even though you're going to be eating the pomegranate, which is one of the fruits of Eretz Yisrael, but first you make the ha'etz on the apple. Even though the pomegranate is on the table. It's interesting, there's once upstairs, I was never upstairs by the Rebbe's meal, but there was once upstairs by the Rosh Hashanah meal, they didn't put the pomegranates yet on the table, and the Rebbe said they should put the pomegranates on the table before he made ha'etz on the apple. It was like dafka to make the bracha on the apple, even though the pomegranate, because right now this is what you want, is more prominent, more choshev to you, so therefore you make the bracha on the apple. That's what? What?
Why did they want them to put it on the table?
Because he wanted to make a bracha on the apple with the pomegranate there.
With the pomegranate here.
Yeah.
Was there a need? Yes, or?
It was upstairs by the Rebbe's.
By his own house, the bracha could work for anything, right? But yes.
No, I'm saying by the Rebbe, by the Friedrich Rebbe's house, where there was a minion, but the Rebbe used to go upstairs to eat Yom Tov. Told Tav Shalom Lamed. Yeah.
Should we make sure we eat the desires of the bread before we move to the apple?
You don't have to eat the kazayas then. It would be preferable too. But you have to eat a kazayas either at the beginning or at the end of the meal within a 4 to 7 minute period. Yeah.
Would you still make it on with the pomegranate?
You don't make another bracha.
No, but today you don't know if pomegranate is coming from Israel or Mexico.
No, it doesn't matter. It's the pomegranate.